This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and I'm going to take a few moments in this webinar to discuss the local budget certification process for the fiscal year 22 budgets. To certify budgets online as a county auditor or county auditor's staff, you would go to the Department of Management website and our county resource page, which is where you go to log into a number of our systems or access different documents and information, is dom.iowa.gov/counties. To certify all local government budgets other than schools, you would log into the same system that you use to complete the county budget and amendments, to complete the county AFR, and to submit valuations. For all budgets other than schools, you will use this system to certify. For schools, you will use the system as located here, and that is the same system that you've used in prior years for schools. The Department of Management's role in the budget process is to provide the forms, budget forms, including web-based forms. We provide the instructions and also technical assistance for all the local governments that submit budgets and levy tax. DOM staff members take responsibility for different types of budgets. I do the property valuation system and the utility replacement tax. As far as budgets go, I work with the county budgets, county hospital budgets, ag extension district budgets, and city and county assessors. Ted Nellis in our office works with cities and townships as well as various miscellaneous districts. And John Parker in our office works with schools, community colleges, EMA, and 911 budgets. So as you're certifying a different budget, you would start with the staff member that oversees and provides the budget instructions and technical assistance for that budget type. That is your first best bet with any questions you may have as you're certifying. So as far as the budget certification process, just an overview of some of these timelines, many budgets are due to county auditors by March 15th. The exceptions to those are February 28th for EMAs, March 1st for sanitary districts, March 31st for cities and counties, and April 15th for schools. So the county auditor then, upon receipt of documentation from the local government budget, will certify the budget. Once we see that the county auditor has locally certified and checked over our budgets, we at DOM will review that information and then finalize budgets through the finalization process. You will see individual budget certifications for each and every budget type. We then compile those budgets and their tax rates by tax district and certify consolidated tax rates by taxing districts out to county auditors. And then the county auditor provides the tax list to the county treasurer by June 30th. So we talked about the budget deadline. Cities and counties can request a budget extension from Department of Management. And again, only cities and counties can request a budget extension, but it is for circumstances beyond their control. So in situations such as illness or publication error on the part of your newspaper, for instance, you submitted your notice for publication in the newspaper and there was a mistake that happened on their end and they didn't publish it on the date that you needed them to. So that would be obviously beyond your control. Illness, technical difficulties, but again, it's something that you need to be able to demonstrate is beyond your control, not simply forgetting about a deadline or not being able to reach a decision locally on taxes. If an extension is granted to a city or county, a letter with a new due date is sent to the city or county, and also the county auditor receives a copy. So that way, as the county that is certifying that local government budget, you are also aware of the extended deadline. No other levy authority, again, has the option to request a budget extension. Cities, counties, and townships that certify their budget late are held to the last year's certified taxes. So cities and counties that certify late without an extension are held to the last year's certified taxes, and townships are simply held to the last year's certified taxes if they are late. And the Department of Management will assist with applying that penalty if you have a city, for instance, that's certified late and will need to be penalized and held to last year's taxes. You would work with Department of Management to apply that penalty. The county auditor certifies all the local government budgets, including the county budget. And in the system, in the online system, you will see a checklist similar to what you see on the screen here, that you would work your way through the checklist and double check the various items that you see and then certify. For schools, they will need to upload an Excel file to the Department of Management website. They will be providing you with an original proof of publication, a paper copy of the detailed budget forms, a signed original of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. And then John would like for you to email Department of Management one copy of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. You don't need to mail the copy. You just email it, scan it, and email that copy of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes to John Parker at Department of Management. Outline budgets, so that's all the other budgets other than schools. They are filed and certified online using our local government budgets website. They're going to give you a proof of publication, a paper copy of the detailed budget forms, and a signed original of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. And there are additional documents that are required now for cities and counties per the Senate File 634 max levy, proof of publication, and approved resolution. Again, don't send any paper copies to Department of Management. County auditors are going to keep and file those forms, and we at Department of Management will access what we need via the online system. When you receive the documentations from the local entity, you will compare that proof of publication with the adopted budget. You want to make sure that the budget hearing notice and budget estimates were published or posted within the required timelines before the budget hearing, that they meet that not less than 10, no more than 20 days prior to the date of the hearing publication window. You want to make sure that the budget hearing notice and budget estimate was lawfully published in an official newspaper or posted as required. The adopted property taxes do not exceed published amounts. So when they adopted their budget, that they did not adopt higher property taxes than what they published in their notice. And also that adopted expenditures do not exceed the published amounts in total or by fund as applicable. So that you are not adopting expenditures higher than what was published in the notice. They can always be lower, they can be equal to, but never higher. Additional checks, again, are required for cities and counties due to Senate File 634. Any errors in the above areas that are listed here need to be returned to the levy authority for correction, and Department of Management can assist with that communication as needed. Be sure, again, to use the official proof of publication for verification. Iowa Code, again, allows expenditures and property taxes to be less than what they published in their notice, but never more. With schools, also verify that the signed adoption of budget and certification of taxes matches the same form on the Excel file. With the online budgets, verify that the signed adoption of budget and certification of taxes matches the form on the online system. So again, when we talk about our publication window, levy authorities have the requirement to publish or post notice of their hearing not less than 10 and no more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing. So you don't count the date of the hearing. The date of the hearing, again, is not included. So just for an example, if you are holding your budget hearing on February 22nd, the hearing notice must be published on February 2nd through February 12th. That would be the window. You do count weekend days in the counting of days for publication. And so this is just sort of a visual requirement of working your way back on a hearing date. So if needed, and I find it helpful to sometimes just pull out the calendar, physically count, okay, this was their hearing date, count back. Does it meet that window between 10, not less than 10, and no more than 20? Is it in this window here? Is that when they published it? And again, if you have any questions, please visit with the Department Department of Management staff member that deals with those budgets. The hearing notice obviously needs to be posted or published as required. As far as posting, townships post, cities 200 201 or more in population publish, 200 or less post. So that's kind of your cutoff for the population thresholds. As far as valuation changes go, sometimes as budgets are being submitted, there may be valuation changes that the county makes at the local level, either due to a correction or potentially a PAB board case, for instance, that comes in late, that sort of thing. For schools, you're going to verify that the valuation amounts that you're seeing on their budget forms. Differences should be noted on the comments area within the certification for schools. Significant differences that would cause major changes should be discussed with DOM. Send an email to John and visit about that. Now, the online budget system pulls valuations from the valuation reporting system when filed. So valuations are already populated in those budgets. If you as a county would unfile valuations and make a correction and then file again, the system is going to update with the new valuation numbers after you subsequently file, right? But and while you're in an unfiled status, the system will tell a user that your valuations are in an unfiled status. But if you have changed value, the county auditor must notify the levy authority if those changes are made. The online system doesn't automatically notify users of changes. The system does hold their requested dollars the same and then will recalculate the tax rate. So if you have a late enough valuation change that someone has already published their budget or submitted their budget, even adopted it, and you're needing some assistance with how that change is actually going to affect their budget, please contact the Department of Management staff member that works with that budget, and they can work with you as well as the levy authority to make sure those changes are correctly accounted for in their budget as revised. Again, levy authorities are held to the same tax dollars as what they publish, not the same rate. All tax rates must be authorized by statute. So if a rate requires an election to be used, be sure that you as a county have documentation of that election in your files. Obviously the county itself would have a record of that election, so it's a good idea to maybe keep an abstract of votes for that election on file with your budget information for that particular levy authority, so you know that that election was held and they are authorized to use that particular tax rate. Also make sure that rates meet other statutory parameters. Obviously, there are some rates that have particular levy limits, or in some instances, a rate can only be used if another rate is at its maximum. So just be certain that that those requirements are being met. Our forms are designed to catch a lot of those issues, but we do ask that you review that information as well before you certify. As I said, that software is designed to help control for potential errors, but there's certain things that we are not able to control for instance, elections and that sort of thing, we may not be aware of. So just make sure that you're double checking as well, and also those voted levies. We do provide, as part of our instruction documentation, a summary of tax rate limitations that we update every year, so you can review that document for all the different budget types and their statutory levy limits and rate limits. That document also includes the statutory reference for information regarding those levies, so you can always reference Iowa Code for more detailed information. As far as debt service goes, you want to check to ensure that any debt service levy is properly authorized, that you have a copy of that bond resolution, and ensure that debt service taxes are being collected as required to meet a levy authority's debt obligations. Verify that debt service is for general obligation debt only, not for revenue debt that's supposed to be backed by revenue generated from, say, an enterprise. If a bond resolution is filed after the budget deadline, be sure to let Department of Management know. I'm going to take a few moments to review Senate File 634 requirements. These were new for folks for the fiscal year 21 budgets. So anyone that was around last year has went through this process once, but we do want to take some time to review the process and make sure we all understand how it's supposed to work for fiscal year 22. The legislation that was passed, Senate File 634, requires an additional notice and public hearing for cities and counties only prior to the regular budget process. Cities and counties must file the following additional documents with the county auditor per this new law: a proof of publication for the hearing notice, and we call this the max levy hearing notice. And then following that hearing, they're going to be passing a resolution. So there'll be a resolution setting the max levy amounts as approved by City Council or Board of Supervisors. All cities and all counties are required to hold this additional hearing and publish notice for it, or post. Cities and counties are also required to post that notice on their website and social media if they have them. And as part of the resolution that they adopt, if they use the example that we provided, they're going to be attesting that they posted online as required and, if applicable, when they adopt that resolution. So you as county auditor don't have to track down that information. County auditors need to verify all the regular budget documents and process as before, of course, but due to the Senate File 634, you also need to verify that the publication requirements were met for that additional max levy notice, that, not less than 10, no more than 20 days notice were given prior to the date of that public hearing on the max levy. Max levy amounts were adopted by resolution and do not exceed the amounts published. So once they hold the hearing and adopt a resolution setting the max levy amounts, they can always set that number lower than what was published, but not higher. If 2% growth is exceeded, resolution needs to be adopted by a 2/3 majority. And if they use the resolution example that we have provided, there is space on there for a roll call vote. So that makes it easier to verify if that 2/3 majority is being met. When the full budget is later adopted, the city or county can't exceed the max levy amounts as approved in the max levy resolution. So keep that in mind as well. And a reminder, the budget deadline for cities and counties is now March 31st. And when you certify for cities and counties via the Department of Management online system, you will see a set of checkboxes through the certification process that reference these new requirements via Senate File 634. So we talked about certification and when that happens and kind of how that happens. Another part of the budget process that county auditors may or may not experience is a budget protest. And this is covered primarily by Code of Iowa Chapter 24. The county budget process has one sort of section that's in the county section of the code, so 331-436. And basically what it indicates is that county budget protests are held as prescribed in Chapter 24 as well, but there needs to be at least 100 signatures on a county protest document. So for cities and counties, the budget protest deadline was extended to April 10th to accommodate that later budget deadline. For everyone else, it's March 25th. And also that the budget hearing notice does have to include information on protesting the budget, and DOM added that language to the hearing notice that you see that's available in your system. Protesting a local government budget, more specifically, is covered under Code of Iowa 2427. Persons affected by the proposed budget expenditure or tax levy can appeal the budget. They have to gather signatures and submit a petition, and they submit that with a county auditor of the county in which the local government is located. So if someone locally goes through the budget protest process, they're going to be submitting that with a county auditor. Again, protests to county budgets require at least 100 signatures. All other budget protests are calculated based on a percentage of those voting for the governor at the last election. The county auditor would receive those protest documents, make sure that the correct number of signatures are being included, and they would forward the protest document to the State Appeal Board. The State Appeal Board is a 3-member board comprised of the Auditor of State, Treasurer of State, and the Director of Department of Management. The State Appeal Board would receive the protest document, and then they would schedule a local hearing on the budget. So a local hearing would be held in the, parameters of that local government itself. So a city budget hearing would be held within that city, for example. And it's a public meeting, so anyone can attend. It is a hearing, and it is intended to be simple and informal, and the State Appeal Board has sort of prescribed a procedure for that process, and they typically designate deputies to attend the local hearing. So you would typically see at the local hearing a representative from each of those 3 offices, someone from Department of Management, someone from the Treasurer of State, and someone from the Auditor of State. And the purpose of the hearing, again, is to gather information for the State Appeal Board to render a decision on the protest and on the budget. The burden of proof is upon the objectors for any proposed item that was included in the budget of the previous year with a proposal for a reduction or exclusion of the specific items. And the burden of proof is on the local government to show any new item in the budget or any increase is necessary, reasonable, and in the interest of public welfare. So basically, if your budget is not status quo, if there's any increase, then the local government would need to be able to justify those increases. If the protesters are saying that something should be reduced, but it was actually in the budget in the prior year, then they're going to have to justify why that should not be included. An example of the format, it should be an hour at most, but the petitioners have an opportunity to present their appeal at the hearing. The petitioners then finish up and the local government can rebuttal. The petitioners have an opportunity for rebuttal as well, and after the conclusion of these opening arguments and rebuttals, there can be any third parties that want to speak to the budget, or any comments from the audience and members of the public. The hearing panel oftentimes has questions for either the protester or for the local government, and then both sides are given an opportunity for closing comments. Following the hearing, the State Appeal Board will gather the information and review the documentation that they received, and they render a decision in writing within 45 days of the hearing, of the local hearing. The State Appeal Board can reduce but not increase a tax asking and expenditures within the budget. And upon their decision, the State Appeal Board will work with the county auditor to implement any of the required changes to the budget prior to the finalization of the tax rate. So if you have a local government within your county that's being protested and there's a decision rendered by the State Appeal Board that modifies that budget, then we would work with you on implementing that budget and arriving at a finalized tax asking and rate. And you can always review prior year's decisions on this location within the State Appeal Board information. Again, the local government protest is filed first with the county auditor. County auditor is going to verify signatures and addresses and forward that petition to the State Appeal Board. And if adjustments are made to the budget by the State Appeal Board, DOM is going to work with the county auditor to make sure that budget is corrected at the end of the day. So, certification example, we'll walk through how a budget is certified via the online system. You're again going to go to that dom.iowa.gov/counties and log into the Valuation and Budget system. Once a budget is adopted and the levy authorities have given you their required budget documents, you're going to log into the system to actually certify that budget. You'll pull up that particular budget and select the edit icon. You then, within the budget, are going to select the green Certify button, and a checkbox will appear specific to that budget type. A lot of these certification requirements are the same, but there are some that vary a little bit depending on what budget you're certifying. And all budgets must be checked in order to certify the budget. So you work through the different requirements as you go and check them off. You can at any time save your process and come back in later and finish certifying. So just kind of keep that in mind. That is new. If you remember back from when you're certifying in fiscal 21 budgets, this is new for fiscal 22 that you can't actually save your process, and come back in later and finish certifying a particular budget. You will indicate if a budget is certified on time, late, or late with an extension. And once you've clicked that certify button, the system does provide you a notification at the top once the budget is properly certified, and you would see its status changed to certified. If a budget is unable to be certified due to errors, it must be rejected. So you would select the red reject button at the top of the screen. You would need to enter a brief explanation if you're rejecting a budget. You would also need to indicate if the budget needs a new hearing due to publication error. So that's just a couple of things to be aware of. If you're rejecting a budget, you do need to provide an explanation so that the levy authority can see that. Also, we do strongly encourage you to contact them directly because they're going to need to make some corrections, and you need them to make those corrections as soon as possible so their budget can be completed and you can certify it. The budget's rejected and returned to draft status, so that levy authority can make the required changes, propose again, and create a new publication page if needed, if they need to republish again. If you're rejecting, again, a budget for any reason, be sure to inform that impacted levy authority, and it's also good to let Department of Management know too. We can help you through that process or answer any questions that the levy authority might have. So that's certifying all but schools. Schools do use the same process and online system as they have in prior years. So you would go to that county resource page, but go to this button here. And you'll know that you're there because the screen is actually green. This shows you the school dashboard and the different budgets that are certified by your county. Budgets awaiting certification. These are the ones that are uploaded into the system, and you can view the summaries. And this would provide you with a summary of the tax certification page. And this is a summary of the 4 areas that you're going to be double checking as far as tax asking. And make sure the version on the dashboard, or if you download the Excel file, match what you're seeing in paper. Don't use a dashboard, though, to verify the long-term debt amounts. You have to use that Excel file to get all the necessary information that you need to see in order to verify their debt. And then, of course, you would select Approve upon certification. And you're going to verify the information as listed below. Again, that's that comment area. If something is, something you want to communicate to John regarding that particular budget, but it's not a major issue. If it's a major issue or just not compliant, then you don't certify it. Contact John and let him know and work through the process. And these are the informational pieces that you want to take a double check and look to make sure it matches what you're seeing. Total property tax rate, the requested dollars, and property tax dollars, and you would certify. And again, these are the items that you're checking regarding certifying the budget. The prescribed notice was lawfully published, and you have that proof of publication. It was published not less than 10 or more than 20 days prior to the budget hearing, and it was certified on or before April 15th. Property taxes do not exceed published amounts. So whatever they adopted in property taxes cannot exceed the amount that they published in their notice. And adopted expenditures do not exceed published amounts for any of the 4 individual expenditure categories or in total. And you can see those there. Again, you're making sure that whatever they adopted doesn't exceed what they published in their notice to the public. Adopted property taxes meet the debt service and loan agreement needs as identified on that long-term debt schedule. And again, make sure that your debt service levy is for general obligation bond payments only, that there's not taxes being levied for revenue bonds, only general obligation or GO bonds. Some of the common certification questions, there's always questions on timing. What happens when the not less than 10, no more than 20 days are not met? Can the meeting date, time, location be altered? As far as school budgets go, there are no extensions granted with school budgets. They simply just, are filing late, but they're not granted an extension, and they're also not penalized. Debt questions, long-term debt schedule from the district. You do need that. You do need a board resolution for an advanced surplus levy. If the Form 703, the long-term debt, does not match the schedule that you're showing in your office, ask for a new schedule or have the district file the Excel file and upload again. And again, with school budgets, sign, scan, and email adoption of budget and certification of taxes to John Parker in Department of Management office. With schools, keep in mind that final tax rates will not match what was submitted and certified by the county auditor because there's often formula changes due to legislation, estimated amounts becoming final, and also sometimes fixing school errors. And it is possible and acceptable to have different final rates as compared to the April 15th submission. Sometimes with schools, there's just simply a recalculation of some of those rates, and they may not be different than what you originally saw. They may be different than what you saw in their original budget. Tax certificates. So as I mentioned, once budgets for levy authorities are certified locally by the county, then Department of Management finalizes and sends tax certification forms out. Schools are via email. With all other levy authorities with the online system, we're going to do that in the online system, and we're going to alert you as counties that we've finalized, say, all the assessors, or we finalized all the ag extension budgets. And then county auditors will log into the budget system and will access the finalized budgets. And then you can print and save off a certification page as a separate document. It's basically going back to that entity's budget and accessing that budget and just printing off a certification page. The expectation is always that this certification is reviewed as soon as possible by both the county and the local levy authority. So we want you to double check that as soon as possible. We don't want there to be any discrepancies between what we show as the tax rate for that taxing entity and what you show. And if we do have differences, what's going on? What happened that would create the difference? We want to discuss that with you and find out what's going on. So an example of the online certification, again, will notify you once a levy authority type is finalized. You can log into the system, you go edit to the individual budget to enter it, and you print the applicable certification page at your convenience. For this year, if you are wanting a certification for a local entity that you as a county do not certify, so say a community college or a city that's located in 2 counties, or a school that's located in more than 1 county, but you're not the one that certifies it, it's another county that does, you can access the certification form on the public site. So you can pull up, just do the budget search for that particular budget, and you can see their certification. Like any other document, you can open and print to your printer or save as a hard copy, a PDF. And this is just basically kind of what it looks like. So it would have the rates, utility tax and property tax, and the property tax asking, as well as the valuation. So that's always, of course, the component pieces of a total tax rate is getting those individual tax certifications. We then will compile the final taxes by tax district, and we will send that out to county auditors, or make it available to county auditors, I should say, as a consolidated rates list. And we're going to ask again that you double check the total rates per tax district and make sure that they add up to the total rates per tax district that you show. Again, notify Department of Management as soon as possible with any discrepancies that you might see. We need to understand what those differences might be and get anything corrected that needs to be corrected as soon as possible, because obviously we're all trying to get to the point where we're getting those taxes out, moved over to the county treasurer so they can work on getting the billings. And also Department of Revenue uses the Department of Management consolidated rates when they calculate the business property tax credit. So they're going to want those rates and pull those rates into their system to run that calculation process. And we will alert counties when those consolidated rate reports are available. You're basically going to go to our home system for our local government online budget and valuation system, and you're going to go to reports. You don't even have to log in. You just go to reports and you can see consolidated tax rates. The report is accessed either as a CSV, which you can download to Excel and manipulate, or as a PDF file. And this is just kind of what they look like. So you'll see each and every tax district, the tax district name, various information about the tax district, such as rural or urban, TIF or not, etc. And you'll see the consolidated tax rate, as well as the net consolidated tax rate if we're dealing with a TIF district. The tax district recap report is also a helpful report that you can use through this process. That way you can view the component pieces of a particular tax district, the component pieces of that consolidated rate. And this report is also available in a PDF or CSV. So if you would look at that report as a PDF, you'd see all the information about that tax district presented in this particular format. So all the valuation, all the information about the tax district itself and its type. The total consolidated rate is listed here. And then if you go down to the bottom, this lists all your assigned levy authorities, as well as the tax rate we show for all those levy authorities, and how we're getting to that consolidated rate. And the state brucellosis rate is included there as well. So just sort of be aware that this is a good place to go if you're finding a tax district that doesn't match locally what we show in the system. You can pull up that tax district recap, find that tax district that's different, and then look at the component pieces. And again, you can also do that in an Excel format. It makes it quick and easy to do the summation. If you have any questions at all regarding the certification process, finalization of tax rates, or anything of that nature, please contact us. Thank you.